Let's quickly dive in. First up, 10,000 crore rupees, and we are still counting. That's the kind of money that has already been invested in Air India to revive the airline. 10,000 crore rupees of your money, your hard-earned money. But despite the huge infusion, the national airline continues to fly into the red. As a headline today, and our sister concern, Mail Today investigation found out, a big part of this is all because of Babu's bleeding Air India for all it's worth.
It's a wonder that this airline is still flying, burdened as it is with debts of over 40,000 crore rupees and further annual losses running into thousands of crores. But apparently, Babus running the show are digging the grave even deeper.
There have been a slew of decisions recently which serve only one purpose: bleed the down and out Maharaja even further. Where efforts should have been made to revive the airline, officials are doing just the opposite and making the most of it.
This man is responsible for bringing the airline around. But Rohit Nandan's office in April approved a bizarre order. Not only is the immediate family of an employee eligible for free tickets now, the definition has now been extended to the extended family as well, putting further burden on the already creaking airline. Not only that, free tickets are now being given to children of deceased employees as well. Officials on deputation to Air India, not eligible for such freebies, are enjoying them as well now. This is in addition to the nearly active and retired airline employees who enjoy these facilities.
There are 2 cases of gross violations by officers on deputation to Air India, which Headlines Today has identified. Officers who were not supposed to get free tickets, but who have done so. And shockingly, on top of the list is the current chairman of Air India.
Rohit Nandan is on deputation, but he's still got free business class tickets for his family and extended family this January. Not only that, the chief vigilance officer of the airline, also on deputation, has booked a Delhi-Sydney ticket for his son and daughter-in-law this June, also free and upgradable to first class. The tickets, booked for free, would have cost more than 5 lakh rupees. The cash-strapped airline has already been put on notice by Mumbai Airport for non-payment of bills. It has also failed to implement the turnaround plan worked out to bail out the ailing carrier. But it still continues to receive bailout funds at the expense of you, the taxpayer. A practice that the Modi government will urgently have to look into. With Pankaj Upadhyay in Delhi, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Well, for more on this, joining us in the studio is editor Mail Today, our sister organization who conducted the special investigation. We are also joined, Sandeep Bamza is with us. We are also joined by Air Marshal Denzel Keeler, former advisor, Ministry of Civil Aviation and DGCA. He's also been joining us from Gurgaon. I'd like to come now to Sandeep first. Sandeep, your team conducted this entire investigation. You know, it's very disconcerting to know that our money, the taxpayers' money, is going in just for free tickets for Babus. What all did your team find out?
This is actually to Sanjay Singh's credit. He's the reporter who has done a series of stories, not just in the last few days, but over the last year or so. He's done several stories detailing all the problems that Air India has. And I think at the core of a bleeding airline is the fact that you have Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan, which completely controls this airline. Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan is the seat of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and as long as the ministry continues to control this airline through Babus, there is no future with this airline. All sorts of, how should I put it, elastic methods are used to beat the rules, to change the rules, to modify them. And some of the stuff is completely bizarre, that in the eventuality that an employee is deceased, the flying purse, as we call it, passes on to next of kin.
And that's what brings me to my next question, and I'd like to bring in retired Air Marshal Keeler there. You know, Air Marshal, the question I'd like to ask you is this a public sector organization aimed at making money, or are we running a free haul for everybody? Everybody gets a free dinner. What's going on?
Well, this has been the practice in the airline for many years now, and these traditions were set in the great days of Air India and Indian Airline, when they were running the airline at a profit. But that's long past, and as you know, they are 40,000 crores in debt. They are continuing to lose another 10,000 crores each year, and in spite of this, instead of looking or taking economic measures, they are spreading the perks well beyond what it was before. I don't believe that either the government or the ministry or the management are serious about making a profit out of this airline, and they're just going to carry on in this fashion. Every year we come up with the same thing. They will carry on in this fashion and then again be bailed out by the government.
And you know,
the question of privatizing.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, go on.
The question of privatization I saw in the agenda, and it's been brought to the president of the new government, and I'm sure, and the pilots have also agreed that privatization will be acceptable to them. And so I think at some point of time, the government has to take a step and privatize this airline. Otherwise, as taxpayers, please be ready to every 3-4 years pay 40,000 crores for the recovery of this airline.
And that's what's astounding, because one look at the figures, and our viewers need to know this, because they're paying for this. 10,000 crore rupees already invested to revive the Air India. I don't think it's invested, it's drained is what we're looking at. 40,000 crore rupees debt, that is what Air India is in. 55 managers been stationed in New York, where there's only one daily flight. What's the need of that? We're going to come to that story as well. We also right now have in the studio with us civil aviation expert, retired Air Marshal Kapil Kark. And that's what I want to ask you, Mr. Kark, at this point of time. You know, what's going on? Are we actually running a welfare outfit? Because that's what it seems like. Because if you just go into free tickets being doled out to extended families, children of deceased employees being given free tickets, am I paying a bailout fund which is actually going in for free tickets which get upgraded to first class tickets for most people?
Well, that's the sad story. That's the sad story, and it's not a sudden revelation that public of India didn't know this. Sandeep has himself written many stories in his paper. I have been talking on the television channels over the last 10 years. What's going on? You raise the right question. First is, entitlements are a function of the efficiency of the airline and its profit making, and its comparison with what is the rest of the world doing. I don't think the Air India has ever communicated with the public. It can't, because it's the handmaiden of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and ministries by nature are quiet. Secondly, given the figures already, Marshal Denzel Keeler has also given the figures. Last 2 years, it's been said by the Civil Aviation Minister himself in response to a question in the Lok Sabha, Air India loses 10 crores a day. Preeti, you get up in the morning, by the time you go to bed at night, Air India has lost 10 crores. So every year, approximately 3,700 odd crores. 44,000 is the precise total debt of Air India. And if you see the losses over the cumulative loss, 33,000 crores, how long will this drain go along?
And who's paying for it? I'm paying
Public.
for it. You're paying for it. Our viewers out there are paying for it. 45,000 crore rupees in debt. And with what Air Marshal Kark just pointed out, what, 10 crores every day?
Absolutely. I haven't
Every day
pointed
when we
it
go
out.
off to
The
sleep,
minister
10
has said
crores.
it. Minister
10
has
crores
said it.
loss is what is reported, documented by the ministry. Well, let's get you some more figures which are even more astounding, like Sandeep pointed out there, 44,000 crore rupees in debt, 26,000 employees of the Air India right now. These are the kind of big figures that Air India is associated with. In comparison, let's just give you some more figures. Jet Airways has just about 13,000 employees while it operates more aircrafts, more flights. What's worse is the overseas deployment by Air India, and we are shocked when our investigation showed that most of these senior mollycoddled officers were posted in cities where Air India has no flights. Take a look at this, and we are back with our panel.
For an airline that's hemorrhaging money, Air India, or at least its management, doesn't seem to be too keen on controlling costs. already saddled with one of the highest employee-to-aircraft ratios in the world, indicating it has more employees than needed. A Headlines Today Mail Today joint investigation has uncovered an army of highly paid Air India officials posted to foreign locations where the airline has limited or no operations at all. In total, Air India has 53 stations overseas where it maintains an office and staff. Shockingly, 24 of these 53 locations have no Air India flights to the city. A whopping 55 managers have been stationed at New York alone, a city to which just one Air India flight operates every day. 13 officials man the airline's Chicago office. Again, there's just one flight a day to the city. Even more perplexingly, the airline maintains fully staffed offices in Los Angeles, Washington DC and Toronto, even though there are no direct flights to these cities. In Europe, Frankfurt and Paris also maintain a full set of staff with just one flight each for the cities. Most bizarrely, while Kuala Lumpur is one of the most popular tourist destinations for Indians, the national carrier operates no direct flights to the city. It does, however, employ 5 people at an office there.
According to our sources, all the groundwork in these foreign locations is done by handling agents and service agents, even the ticketing. And none of these agents are employees who command astronomical salaries and are firmly placed in these plum postings.
Air India has clarified that some of these employees did not return to India due to personal reasons and that a committee was looking into the matter. However, it claimed that even in the absence of flights, it needs to maintain offices in foreign locations to fulfill what it called marketing commitments. It's been only 1 week since this man, Ashok Gajapati Raju, took over as the Civil Aviation Minister, but he already has his task cut out for him. Curiously, to undo most of the damage, he may have to roll back a slew of decisions taken by his predecessors. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
So you're broke, you're cash strapped, you're hemorrhaging money. On every bench of performance which one looks at, you have failed, yet the figures are outstanding. Once again, we want to give those out. 53 stations overseas, 24 stations have no Air India flights. Let's give you some more figures. 55 managers have been stationed in New York. There's only one daily flight there. What's the need of 55 managers? One doesn't quite know. Kuala Lumpur has no direct flight, yet we have an office there of 5 employees. I'd like to bring in Sandeep, who's of course whose team has conducted this special investigation, our sister concern Mail Today. Sandeep, these figures are outstanding. Is this an organization where special favors are doled out? Because you're cash strapped, yet for the people who are working for you, it's a gravy train.
Totally, but we also need to understand that this keeps popping up every year, every 2 years. Air India has a long history and Air India has been bleeding relentlessly over the last 5-6 years. Every once in a while, like I said, these stories pop up. We've reported them in the past, we've reported them now. At the core of the problem, I continue to reiterate, you have to unfetter this airline from Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan. As long as the ministry, and let's understand how this system of linkages works. The ministry controls the airline directly. Babus from the Indian Administrative Service are sent on deputation as chairman cum managing director. Other services send in people as chief vigilance officers, etc., etc. I know that there are IPS officers also who have made it to Air India in the past. These officers who work for Air India, then it's a nice cozy club. Then an MP has a request. The MP's request has to be fulfilled. The MP needs an upgrade. So the gravy train is not, let's understand, the gravy train is not limited to Air India alone. The gravy train goes right back inside the government. And till such time as you cut the umbilical cord with the ministry,
Right.
and read, when I say ministry, I say read government. Till you cut that umbilical cord,
Right.
there cannot be any changes. I'll give you an example of how they are efficient. It's not that the airline is not efficient.
Yes.
You'll be surprised to know that Air India runs 19 flights daily to Mumbai.
Right.
Daily 19 flights. No airline has more flights on the Delhi-Mumbai sector other than Air India.
Right.
This is a profitable route. They do a good job there. But This system, this system,
and what
this system
happens?
of freebies.
What happens, Air
eats
Marshal
it.
Kak? The Disinvestment Commission, which was launched with so much fanfare, not a single suggestion ever taken?
No, that's the tragedy. It's a very cozy club. I mean, a minister has an airline at his beck and call. Yeah. So I think a business-friendly Prime Minister, more than Ashok Ganapathy Raju, needs to take this issue head-on. It's been on the public platform for decades. Privatize the airline. Earlier, there was this huge thing. What will happen to the Prime Minister's flights? What will happen to war situations where these will have to be marshaled by the Indian Air Force for airlift requirements? Indian Air Force has enough airlift capability. Secondly, all private airlines under the Indian Aircraft Act.
Well, there is more dirt on Air India officialdom, which was dug out by Headlines Today and Mail Today investigation this time. It's a housing scam that top airline officials are sitting over, and it's not surprising because it involves their own colleagues.
The high-flyer administrators who manage this airline have their feet firmly on the ground, at least as far as their own interests are concerned.
What Headlines Today, Mail Today investigation has found are rules brazenly flouted by the top echelons of Air India. It all relates to the housing being provided by Air India to the top hierarchy. Many of the officials living in Air India housing in Vasant Vihar do so in clear violation of the rules.
Some 150 senior Air India officers who own houses in Delhi have in fact opted for official accommodation, a violation of the rules. An order preventing this had been passed on 7th of February, after Mail Today highlighted the cases earlier this year.
There are so many issues, and the employees are not responsible for this downfall. It is basically from the top. The top itself is corrupt, so what do you expect? We have to take it somewhere.
The airline's spacious apartments are in one of Delhi's stoniest colonies, Vasant Vihar, just a few minutes from the airport. In fact, our investigation showed that Air India charged its employees less than 1/6 the market rate for rent, which obviously is a major factor in senior officers choosing to ignore rules. Interestingly, most of Air India's land grabbers are high-profile officials in positions of considerable influence. Among them are Pawan Sharma, R. Raju, Arun Gopalakrishnan and Anand Topo, who all own their own homes in Delhi but still live in company accommodation.
There are reports that the actual figure of defaulters could be much higher, and this fact is well known to the regulators of Air India. Yet, no action has been taken, thanks to the right connections. With camera person DK Sharma, this is Pankaj Upadhyay in New Delhi for Headlines Today.
So how do you unshackle the airline from the Babu Dam that beseeches it? I'd like to directly go across to Air Marshal Kak. He's in the studio with us. Is privatization the only answer, Air Marshal?
Absolutely. And I think the person who can do it, one person in India, Narendra Modi, I think if he takes a decision, it will be done. There are no coalition pressures, there's no Babu Dam pressures, it will be done. Secondly, roadmap for the future.
Right.
In how much time will you do this? Thirdly, until this happens, Air India must be compelled to do transparency, efficiency. They must convey their views.
Sandeep,
to the
in your
public.
words, somebody needs to cut the umbilical cord and quick.
See, when we talk about restructuring the airline roadmap, all this has been done.
Right.
Somewhere these people who are employed by Air India need to look at themselves in the mirror. That Sandeep Banzai, Preeti Chaudhary, Air Marshal Kak are paying for me, that there is this...
but they're not doing that. They've been doing this for years.
They are completely
somebody needs to make them do it.
Oblivious of this.
And let's bring in Air Marshal Kak very quickly. Air Marshal Denzel Keeler, who's with us. Air Marshal, very quickly, what are your suggestions? What's the way forward?
Actually, having looked at the situation, the airline has deteriorated to such a level that it cannot be recovered. At the same time, people are talking of disinvestment.
Right.
There's no way that anyone is going to buy this airline. So, we are looking at a choice between the lion, the deep blue sea, and it's time that people came to terms with this reality.
All right. All right. Appreciate you joining us. We are completely out of time. Appreciate Air Marshal Kak, Air Marshal Keeler and Sandeep Banzai and his team for bringing that story right there. Our sister concern Mail Today exclusive. With that, it's a wrap on Newsnight.